Starting off with the Angels, and I got to go with Logan O'Hoppe here. I was looking for him to take a step forward this year, but in the end, he ended up taking a step back. His slash line dropped across the board, only hitting .217 with a .261 on base, a .380 on the slugging, a 75 WRC plus, a negative .0.6 F4, and his defense got worse from last year too. This past offseason, the Astros signed Christian Walker to a 3-year, $60 million deal, and I loved it at the time because he has been one of the more solid hitters in the game, and I thought he'd be a perfect fit with the Crawford boxes in Houston. But overall this year, a pretty down season, only hitting .234, a .295 on base, a .400 on the slugging, a 93 WRC plus. Now, he hit better in July and August, had an OPS over 800 during those months, and he is up to 23 home runs, but he has struggled in the month of September. He's getting paid the big bucks, but to me, this has not been worth it. Also this past offseason, the Athletics pretty much had to sign someone unless they wanted a grievance from the Players Association, and that guy ended up being Luis Severino. Now, the relationship got off to a pretty bumpy start from the get-go because he voiced his displeasure pitching at Sutter Health Park, said he wasn't really comfortable pitching there, and he didn't really keep it private either. And based off the numbers, ERA at a 6.51 pitching at home compared to an ERA of 3.02 on the road, I think it's fair to say that he's telling the truth. But in the end, he's getting paid the big bucks. He was brought in to be the ace of the staff, and these numbers overall do not look like the ace of the staff. On to the Blue Jays, and I got to go with one of the most disappointing players all year, Anthony Santander. They signed him to a 5-year, $92.5 million contract this past offseason, and so far, that's looking like an absolute bust. He's missed a bunch of time with injuries, and even when he has played, the numbers have looked atrocious, only hitting .179 on base at a .273, slugging at a .304, a 63 WRC plus, only 6 home runs. I mean, this guy hit over 40 home runs last year, so let's see if he can help the Blue Jays in the postseason. But as of right now, this is not looking good. It was a disappointing season for the Braves in general this year, but the most disappointing player to me was Spencer Strider. Now, last year he came back from UCL surgery, and then to start off this year, right out of the gate, he suffered a hamstring injury, and he hasn't fully been himself since. Over the 22 starts, has 119 and a third innings pitched, ERA at a 4.45, FIP right around the same at a 4.51. The strikeouts and the velo are down this year, and he's been more prone to the home runs. My guess is pretty much after missing all of 2024, combined with the fact that he went down with the hamstring injury this year, he's just all out of whack. He also started using a curveball more this year, and in the process, his slider ended up getting hit a lot harder. So I say with an offseason and a fresh start to next year, he's going to be fine. But overall, these numbers are pretty disappointing to me. For the Brewers, I got Joey Ortiz. Now, I'm going to be very clear here. I'm talking about the bat, not the glove. The defense has been amazing this year, posting 13 outs above average, which ranks 5th overall in the majors. However, the bat has really struggled this year. He's only hitting .232, .279 on base, a .319 on the slugging. That's an OPS under 600, a 68 WRC plus. That's down from last year when he had a 105. Now, the Brewers, they do have the best record in Major League Baseball, and a big part of that has been because of Joey Ortiz at shortstop, but you would have loved for the bat to take a step forward this year. I feel like I've made the same pick for the Cardinals for a while now, but I got to go with Jordan Walker. He was a first-round pick back in 2020, one of the top prospects in the game at one point, but he just has not been able to figure it out with the Cardinals. He's only hitting .217 this year, OPS under 600, a 65 WRC plus, a negative 1.1 F4 over 107 games. I'm starting to wonder if the Cardinals are going to end up moving on this offseason. On to the Cubs, and I got Ben Brown here. He got called up last year, and he looks solid. ERA at a 3.58 with 10 strikeouts per 9 over 55 innings. But this year, he's really struggled. 25 games, 15 starts, ERA close to a 6. Home run rate jumped up to around 1.5 per 9. As of right now, he's at AAA, trying to get it figured out. Let's see if we see him for the postseason. On to the Diamondbacks, and I think you could go a few different ways here. Zach Gallen had an absolutely brutal first half, and if he were any better, the D-backs would be in a much better position right now, but he has had a very good second half. There's also Eduardo Rodriguez, who also had a terrible first half, but a much better second half like Gallen, but then again, he's getting paid a lot more. Then there's also Brandon Pfaadt, who's been a bit underwhelming all year. Now, last year, he had an ERA closer to a 5, but he had a solid FIP at a 3.61, and he had a 3 Fangraph wins above replacement, so I was hoping for him to take a step forward this year. Instead, has an ERA at a 5. His FIP has gone up to a 4.22, and taking a look at the strikeouts here, they've gone down. Home run rate has gone up this year. On to the Dodgers, and I got to go with Tanner Scott. Now, there was a time where it looked like it was going to be Michael Conforto for this spot, since he has put up a negative 0.5 F-WAR with an OPS under 650 over 134 games. But considering the Dodgers paid Tanner Scott a bunch of money this past offseason to be a shutdown reliever at the back end of their bullpen, and he's gone on to post an ERA of a 4.91, a FIP at a 4.76, a negative 0.1 F-WAR, along with 10 blown saves, which leads all of Major League Baseball, I think it's safe to say that he's been a massive disappointment. On to the Giants, and I'll go with Elliot Ramos. Now, he hasn't been bad this year. He's hitting just around 260, on base at a 331, slugging at a 401, so a 732 OPS and a 107 WRC+. Not bad numbers, but with what he did last year at 24 years old, he had an OPS close to 800 and a WRC+ above a 120, so instead of building on that, he took a slight step back. For the Guardians, I'll go with Nolan Jones. Now, it was only a couple of years ago when the Guardians traded Jones to the Rockies, and he put up a 2020 season with an OPS at 931, but he had injuries, a down season last year, and then he got moved back to the Guardians in a trade this past offseason, and he wasn't really able to regain his mojo. Hit 211 with a 296 on base, 304 on the slugging, a 72 WRC+. He just got put on the IL with a strained right oblique. So, overall, a pretty down season for Nolan Jones, but luckily for the Guardians, they've gotten red hot this past month. They've clawed all the way back into the postseason race. Incredible run for the Guardians, but you would have loved to have seen more from Nolan Jones here. And like I said, the Guardians are red hot right now, which is absolutely bananas because they were 10.5 back on September 1st. And actually, on Kalshi right now, people are drinking the Guardians Kool-Aid. Out of right around $270,000 bet, 64% are leaning towards Cleveland to win the AL Central, only 40% leaning towards the Tigers. That is just crazy because the Tigers were in the driver's seat not too long ago. And honestly, I think you gotta believe in the Guardians being able to finish the job here. They've been red hot, like I said, and the Tigers have just been cold as ice, and not even the best pitcher in baseball, Tarek Skubal, was able to figure them out this past week. So right now, absolutely Cleveland. I think they have a real shot to win this thing. I'm not going to count out the Tigers just yet. They have a ton of talent on that team. They have been in first place for the majority of the year, so I'm going to give them a shot here to try and figure this out over the final stretch. But again, I think you have to give Cleveland a real shot here. But when it comes to sports betting, Kalshi does it in a way where I wish I had it from the get-go, because it's an exchange where people trade against each other instead of against the house and sports books, so it feels like more of an even playing field. Everything's transparent and it's perfectly legal in all 50 states, and right now, when you sign up using my code HYDE, they're going to give you $10 off to start with. So go down to the description below, click the link, use the code to sign up, go win yourself some cash, but as always, play responsibly. Speaking of red hot teams, the Mariners are on their way to winning the AL West, but Bryce Miller has been pretty underwhelming this year. Now, he missed a couple of months in the middle of the year because of an elbow issue, and overall, the numbers just haven't been amazing this year. 17 starts, ERA at a 5.53, FIP at a 4.95. The strikeouts are down, the walks are up, the home runs are up as well, and when you compare it to last year, had an ERA under a 3, FIP right around the mid-3s, so the step back this year has been a bit of a bummer. On to the Marlins, and I'll go with Sandy Alcantara. Now, I kind of hate doing this because he has looked a lot better in the second half, posting a 2.70 ERA over his last 7 starts, so it really just came down to him working through some things over a terrible first half after coming back from Tommy John. Regardless, it would have been a lot better for him to post better numbers in the first half. The Marlins could have traded him at the deadline, gotten a huge haul for him, but here we are, ended up hanging on to him in the end, and I do wonder what's going to happen with Sandy this coming offseason. I think a lot of people think, oh, he's absolutely going to get traded, but I could also see a scenario where maybe the Marlins want to hang on to him because he is on a team-friendly contract, 5 years, $56 million. The Marlins have shown glimpses this year of maybe being a bit closer to contention than we thought. For the Mets, I'll go with Kodai Senga. Now, he was very good in the first half, posting a 1.39 ERA, but after that, he had a hamstring injury, and since coming back, he's really struggled, has an ERA at a 6.56 in the second half, and now he's back down to the minor leagues trying to figure it out. With the Mets hanging on to dear life trying to make the postseason right now, Senga's struggles couldn't have come at a worse time. On to the Nationals, and I'll go with Dylan Cruz here. He was the number 2 pick in the draft a couple of years ago after a great career at LSU, but it's taken him longer than expected to get going to the majors after getting called up last year. These numbers have not been very good, only hitting .211, a .643 OPS, 10 homers over 284 ABs. Now, he did miss time this year with an oblique injury, and he has been hitting better in September. OPS right around a .750 with a few homers, but with this being his second year in the majors, his first full season at the major league level, I was hoping for a bit more. It's been a disappointing season for the Orioles this year, but the one guy who's been a huge disappointment over the last couple of years is Adley Rutschman, and it's pretty crazy to see what's happened with him, who going back to the second half last year has really fallen off. This year, only hitting .224, on base at a .307, slugging at a .369, and 92 WRC+, 9 homers. Now, he has been dealing with some injuries, so maybe the wear and tear is finally starting to catch up with him, but overall, I mean, these are really disappointing numbers, especially considering the fact that a couple of years ago, he was being looked at as one of the top players in the game. So this fall off, it's got to be studied. I don't know what the heck has happened here. And I do wonder what the Orioles are going to do with Rutschman this coming offseason with the emergence of Sammy Basallo. On to the Padres, and I got Dylan Cease. Now, I don't think Cease has been as bad as the ERA at a 4.64 might suggest, because he still ranks first overall in strikeouts per 9 with a FIP at a 3.64. In the end, though, results are results, and his numbers have taken a step back from last year with his ERA going up along with the FIP, and he's been giving up more home runs this year, more walks, and he has pitched less innings. On to the Phillies, and I got Nick Castellanos. His bat has been regressing over the last couple of years, and this year it's really fallen off. He's only hitting .256, a .299 on base, a slugging at a .410, 93 WRC+, 17 homers. Now, they traded for Harrison Bader at the deadline. He's looked great ever since coming to the Phillies, and with both Brandon Marsh and Max Kepler, Castellanos has been demoted to more of a platoon bat to go up against lefties. And when you're getting paid $20 million a year, that's just not going to cut it. I do wonder if Castellanos is still going to be with the Phillies in the final year of his contract. On to the Pirates, and let's face it, the entire lineup and Bob Nutting himself have been a major disappointment, but if I were to go with one guy in the lineup, I'll go with O'Neal Cruz. Now, last year, he had a solid season, had an OPS at .773 with 21 homers and 22 stolen bases, very solid numbers, but this year, his entire slash line has dropped off, only hitting .203, on base at a .302, slugging at a .384, 89 WRC+. Sure, 20 homers, he has stolen some bases, but you need more offensive production, especially from one of your more talented bats. On to the Rangers, and I got Marcus Semien. Now, I know he's been dealing with a foot injury that just cut his season short, but even before that, the numbers weren't looking all that great. Only hit .230, 305 on base, 364 slugging, and 89 WRC+. Sure, 15 homers, pretty good defense at second base, but when you're getting paid $25 million a year, you got to do more than this. On to the Rays, and I got Shane Baz. He came back from Tommy John last year, and it was looking like he was going to take a big step forward this year because he had an ERA right around a 3 last season, but this year, the numbers haven't looked great. Now, granted, he has made a career high in starts, a career high in innings, and the strikeouts have gone up this year, but the ERA is at a 4.99, FIP at a 4.39. He's giving up more home runs this season, so I was just hoping for more from Baz. On to the Red Sox, and I'll go with Walker Buehler here. Now, this feels like I'm cheating a little bit here because he's no longer with the Red Sox, but I think he had a large enough sample size to go here. Now, they signed him to a 1-year deal this past offseason in hopes of having him bounce back, but he ended up not really finding his way in Boston. Over 23 games and 22 starts, he posted a 5.45 ERA and a 5.90 FIP and ended up getting released. He's with the Phillies now, and he's looking a lot better, but this was a massive letdown for the Red Sox. For the Reds, I got Matt McLain. Now, he has been a bit more consistent as of late, but overall, this has been a brutal season for McLain. Now, he missed all of 2024 because of shoulder surgery, but I was really hoping he was going to come back this year and get back to what he was doing a couple of years ago. In 2023, he put up great numbers, but this year, not so good. Only hitting .222, on base at a .302, slugging at a .349, a 79 WRC+. Now, he does have 15 homers, playing pretty good defense this year as well, but with the player that I know he is, I think he could be a really good player for the Reds. I was just hoping for more here. For the Rockies, I got Brenton Doyle. This guy had an under-the-radar season last year, hitting 23 homers with an OPS at 764 while stealing 30 bases. But this year, he has come back down to earth. OPS has dropped right around 100 points, along with his home runs and stolen bases. On to the Royals, and I'll go with Jonathan India. They traded for him this past offseason for Brady Singer, hoping to give them a bit more offense at the top of the lineup, but instead, he's been pretty underwhelming. His OPS has dropped almost 100 points from a 750 last year down to a 668 this season, only hitting 235, and his defense hasn't been great either, posting -6 outs above average. For the Tigers, I got Jace Young. He was their first-round pick back in 2022, and Tigers fans were hoping he was going to emerge this year after being pretty productive down in the minor leagues, but instead, he just hasn't been able to find his way. Only played 21 games at the major league level this year, only hitting 106. Speaking of first-round picks, how about Brooks Lee for the Twins? He was also drafted in the first round in the same year as Young, and he hasn't been able to find his way either after getting called up last year. This year, over 134 games, only hitting 240, OPS under a 700, and 84 WRC+. Now, he does have 16 homers, but I'm expecting more from Brooks Lee, especially with what he did in college and being an 8th pick overall. On to the White Sox, and I got Luis Robert. He's had a lot of issues over the last couple of years after a very good 2023 season, both of injuries and performance. Now, this year, I was hoping he was finally going to stay healthy, get himself right, and then get traded to a contender, but instead, he's had more injuries. His season actually just got cut short because of a hamstring injury that he's been dealing with, and the numbers just weren't good this year, only hitting 223, on base at a 297, slugging at a 364, 83 on the WRC+. 14 homers. With Luis Robert, we know what he can do. We saw it back in 2023. He just hasn't been right. Hopefully, he can get himself right for 2026. Last but not least, for the Yankees, I'm going to go with both Anthony Volpe and Devin Williams. Now, trust me, I was absolutely just going to go with Anthony Volpe here, who hasn't really done much offensively, but defensively, he's dropped off a ton, going from 13 outs above average last season to -6 this season. But after finding out he's been dealing with a shoulder injury all year, I'm going to back off a little bit, but in the end, still a disappointing season for Volpe. Now, as for Devin Williams, it's been a roller coaster of a year. He's had a tough year in the Bronx after he got traded there this past offseason. ERA at a 5.03. Now, with Williams, he is still very good. It just has not worked out with the Yankees. As you can see here, FIP at a 2.69. He's still striking out a lot of batters, but he just hasn't been able to put it together. He lost the closer role earlier in the year. He's been more of a setup guy since then, but even since, it's still been a roller coaster of a ride. I don't expect him back with the Yankees in 2026. But everyone, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Who do you think are the most disappointing players this year? Let me know down below in the comments. But everybody, that's all I got for right now. If you're kind of the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.